There we go. Go back that side.
All right, looks like we're live. Let me check one thing here. We're officially live. So I'll bring you in. There's nobody watching yet.
Yeah.
Live. So I'll bring you in. Hey guys, welcome back. Arizona Small Business Insider, first official live. I'm really excited. So I've connected with some awesome individuals in the YouTube community. One of the guys I've had the pleasure of meeting, his name is Pete Gustis. His channel is the Small Business Resource Center. And what's really cool is Pete. Pete is also a real estate agent out of southeastern Pennsylvania. So we're going to talk a little bit about what he has available to small businesses out there, just some of the stimulus packages that are out there, and then we're going to talk real estate a little bit with you guys. So here, I'm going to bring Pete in. Pete, you there?
Yes.
Hey, I'm doing well. Hey, so everyone watching, this is Pete Gustis. He's from southeastern Pennsylvania. Pete, introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, my name's Pete Gustis. I'm a real estate agent, primarily in southeastern Pennsylvania. So I've been doing that for quite some time. And since that time, I've helped a lot of small businesses. So I kind of developed an idea to do a virtual small business resource center. So that's why I created the Small Business Resource Center, kind of like a stepping stone to help small business owners, entrepreneurs, and people like that get where they want to go. So
that's great. And when did you start your channel, Pete?
Oh, the channel was started November 2019, but this project has been being worked on for probably about a year before the channel was started. Basically, I kind of had the idea, but while you're in real estate yourself, what ends up happening is I had the idea, was very busy, and didn't really have time to work on it. And then eventually what I did is, well, not a computer programmer, even though I took it some in college, that kind of stuff goes away if you don't use it. Plus computer programming, all the languages are different. WordPress.
Yep.
I tried to use it. I was like, this is terrible. It's the most terrible thing. I used other softwares to design websites, which I thought were pretty good. And I'm confused why WordPress is used about 30% of the time, but it is apparently.
Yeah. Well, hey, I just want to say hi to some of our viewers. Mitchell, how's it going? Mike, what's up? Carl, thanks for dropping in. You guys in the chat, if you want to check out Pete's channel, it's a ton of great resources for small business owners out there. We all know with what's going on with the pandemic, it's a huge dent and challenge for small business right now. So he's got a bunch of great resources on there. And one of the first questions that I wanted to ask is about the Paycheck protection program that's out there. And Pete, if you want to just give our viewers kind of like a Cliff Notes version of what exactly it is and how a small business could take advantage of it.
Okay. Well, one of the things with the Paycheck Protection Program, which is great, is it's a program to help self-employed people, independent contractors, gig workers, freelancers. So if you're an Uber driver or somebody who just does things on the side for people, but that's a primary occupation for you, you can actually qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program. A lot of larger companies are considered small businesses in the eyes of the government, but we should actually have a conversation on that.
Okay, we can help you.
Because the simple fact that the qualification for small business is so broad, some of those companies got loans for $50 million for the Paycheck Protection Program to try to sustain their business. But obviously, I consider myself a small business person. Many other people, like if you go to a local restaurant, they consider themselves small business people. There's no way any of us would qualify for $50 million loan at this point in time. So, you know, when we're looking at those facts, it just seems like there's the laws need to be rewritten and changed. But what the Paycheck Protection Program was supposed to do is supposed to help people like us who are having problems because of the coronavirus and the lack of income sustain their business for 2.5 months. And what that's supposed to do if you're an independent contractor is allow you to get 2.5 months your total payroll as long as it's under $100,000 a year.
Okay.
Basically, you'd get your payroll, divide it by 12, and then times by 2.5, and that would be your approved loan, which you would not have to pay back if you used it for payroll or other acceptable deductions. The other problem that I have with this, and just
hey Pete, real quick, I got Carl. Carl's a local, I believe, also a local real estate guy himself.
Oh,
and he has a question for you. Carl, maybe clarify, but he's asking what's Pete changing as a business owner?
Okay, so when you're saying what am I changing, there's multiple questions for that, because other people have asked me that same thing, like what do I need to do different? Or in real estate, of course, anything that you can do different to change your business and keep moving forward. I have a philosophy that I've incorporated. Even I'm Japanese, but basically it's called Kaizen. It's constant change and improvement to basically make your life better and make strategies better. So when you're looking at the coronavirus and saying, what do I have to do to survive and keep moving? It's as much as you can do virtually without breaking regulations. So the regulations are different everywhere. In Pennsylvania, well, you have Matterhorn and stuff like that, a lot of videotapes for tours, so you can help people in that aspect. They're actually not letting us show property, so everything has to be done virtually.
Yeah, you guys, Pete and I were talking a little bit before we went live, and the real estate landscape completely turned out east here in Arizona. It's an essential business. We can show property, and inspectors, appraisers can all go in the home as needed. And I'll let Pete dive in, but back east, you can't show property, inspectors can't inspect, appraisers can't appraise, so it makes it hard. And he still has a demand for people wanting to buy property. They just can't. So Pete, just tell maybe the viewers how you're trying to hop over some of those obstacles right now.
Yeah. So basically, when you're looking at the obstacles and what you need to do, of course, a lot of times people are saying we should eliminate the quarantine and just do away with it and just follow social distancing guidelines. And on the other side, people are opposed to that. The problem that I have is if we followed social distancing guidelines, we're not making the people who want to be quarantined come out. You're just allowing people who are saying, I believe if I follow the CDC's regulations, I'm safe. You know, it's at your own risk. If there's a swimming pool, nobody makes you jump in. You choose to jump in, or you can sit on the side if you want. So I'm a firm believer in that. And when you're talking about business in general, like some businesses that were allowed to be open in Pennsylvania were the food industry. But the problem is they're telling people to stay inside. And the news is also telling people don't go in any restaurant, even to pick up food. So every business has to incorporate strategies to survive. And that's why when a couple restaurant owners I know were talking to me and they said, hey, what do I do? I said, well, let's look at your business and what do we need to do to change? So simply, I said, tell everybody you're offering curbside pickup. Take the very expensive stuff like seafood off your menu, sell it really cheap, do a special for a week, because if people don't have money, they're probably not going to be ordering seafood. It's probably not going to be your best sellers. So like every type of business has to make some type of adaptations when you're in a situation like this to keep going and keep moving forward. So I'm hoping the restaurants that I talked to did follow all these strategies, but what they had to do, what I recommended was streamlining, offering family packages. And when this first started happening, and I told the restaurants that, I'm not saying I had any influence. Keep in mind, I don't think Burger King or any of those places are on my YouTube channel. It's kind of small, it's new. But shortly after, they actually had family packs and buy 3 meals or whatever, because they realized the same thing I did. Families are home. They want something at a value right now. And a lot of restaurants I noticed, like Austin's, where it started off offering that too. House, many of them were offering family packs because they're saying, okay, people are trying to save money. we can reduce our costs by just packaging something and saying, pick it up. And the curbside pickup, if more restaurants would have promoted it more, probably would have helped them, because the news is telling people don't get out of your car, which I'm not saying I agree with that. I don't, but
yeah,
tell a majority of people that if you don't agree with it, it doesn't matter. They're not going to come if you don't offer an alternative. So
gotta have a good alternative. Well, hey, and then Pete, when we were talking about the payment protection program, if there's any small business owners out there, is it easy to apply? Is it tough to apply? How do they go about that?
Yeah, so I wanted to go over both the programs if we're going to talk about it, because probably the best program to apply for, it was supposed to open up on Monday. I try to keep up with the SBA, and when I called Monday morning, I don't know if the lady made a mistake, but she said that the economic injury development loan was supposed to open up Monday too, and it did not. But basically, that would give you a $10,000 advance, a $1,000 per employee, and then you can get another loan. You actually didn't even have to do your taxes for that loan, which is good. But the Paycheck Protection Program, they want a 1099, and you have to get a Schedule C, and then your payroll is supposed to be under $100,000 per year, which honestly, I think it should be higher, because when you're looking at a lot of areas, a lot of people's payrolls over 100,000 a year, and that doesn't mean you're doing amazingly well at $100,000 a year. Like if you're in DC, if you make under 80,000, you're going to be in the gutter with the homeless people.
And then Pete, and for applying, so that's qualification. That's great. Here, people want to apply, they go direct to the SBA website and essentially apply there.
Okay, so for the EDIL, it's COVID-19.sba.gov to apply for the EDIL. I don't know why you can do that directly through them, but if you're applying for the Paycheck Protection Program, the challenge here is a lot of big banks were accused. I got to watch my verbiage, or Wells Fargo is going to sue me. That's who I bank with, and I told people this was going to happen. Right when it was happening, I said, just go somewhere else. But what happened is the website actually said for Wells Fargo, which I bank with, is put your email in here and we're going to get back to you. And I said, well, here, I follow the news daily. I can go right on the SBA website and get the loan application. So I'm telling people where to get the application, and you're telling me Wells Fargo said no. And I said, well, just print it, fill it out, and walk in. And the same thing, it was basically like, oh, we don't even want your application. Just come back in a couple days. Well, when you do the math here, the money's going to run out pretty quickly. Keep in mind, we're giving loans just to my little town or your little town. This is globally, globally in America. But I think the other thing the government may not have anticipated, that's why there was a lack of funds, is the simple fact that when they were probably creating the regulations, they were creating it for social distancing. Now all of a sudden they're quarantining entire states. So the number of applicants went from, I don't know what number they were speculating, but I'll just use a general number of 1 million applicants, to now, if you quarantine the whole state, how many people are going to apply? Because a bunch of states were quarantined. It went up probably 10 times the amount that they were expecting. So I really think even with the funding that they have, they're going to run out of money probably very soon. Last one was 13 days, and this one's probably going to be 5 days or 7 days, because more people understand how to apply. So if you want to apply, sorry, you can see I have ADD. I'll just keep rambling. But your question, you want to go to fintechs and you want to avoid most regular banks.
Okay.
Bank of America, very good with applications. Key Bank, you can go there too, very good with applications. Customers Bank, very good with applications from what I've been told. And these are from talking with clients and doing research. But fintechs like PayPal, Loan Builder, Cabbage with a K.com, they're actually accepting online applications that are very easy to do. You can do it right from your home in probably like 20 minutes. Your application's done. So I don't like to put out the local community banks. They're all helping us. But if you have a problem getting there, you're worried, you can apply online. Awesome. And probably the best way to go.
Awesome. Well, when you, I know we're all over the place, but when you were talking about companies having to have a different kind of takeout strategy, Rants with Rogers, his name is Matt. He's out of Oregon, and I'll put his comment here. There's a gentleman's club in Oregon. They're having their employees deliver the food because the club obviously, and they're charging $30 for delivery. So that's
hey, you got to innovate. That's a good idea. They're getting good tips too. So.
Right now, I think when we talked last week for small business, they need to be customer centric. So this could be a good form of that.
Definitely.
So, anybody in the chat have any questions for myself or Pete, just about your small business owner or know any that needs some assistance right now, or you just want to open it up for Q&A for myself and Pete. Pete and I were like 3,000 miles apart, 2,500 miles apart.
Yes.
So both in the real estate business, different landscapes out here, and both our YouTube channels are there to support small business and in different ways. John's here. Thanks, John. John is a friend of mine. He's a certified financial planner out here in Arizona, and
excellent.
He knows his stuff. We were talking stocks today a little bit. So, Anybody have any questions? Anybody? No? Crickets.
I know. Well, I probably rambled everything that people are wanting to know. One
information. Pete. Thank you.
I always tell people to try to keep in touch with the news. I'm not a proponent for suing the government, but still I like transparency, and I believe people deserve what they should get. Originally, the EDIL was supposed to be a $10,000 advance, and this is what the loan or the law says, and that's what the consumer requests. And actually, on the first day, that's what it stated. And then the second day, everything was changed. And then when they had their website, actually, it didn't even give you an option. It just said, I wanted an advance up to 1,000 or 10,000. And basically, they just told people, this is what you're going to get. So there's a lot of people right now suing to try to rectify this situation because, I know, as the simple fact that they feel this is not right. And the funds were supposed to be available in 3 days after you applied. But my funds took, I think, like 2 weeks. And then after that, I haven't been contacted back because I am interested in getting the EDIL loan. The advance was just basically to sustain you during that time frame of having no income. But the EDIL loan is actually varies from, I've heard 10, 15, 25. I don't know how high it goes, but if you do need an EDIL loan, the interest rate's really low. It's 1%, but what people are showing approvals for were 3.7. So if you get a loan like that, you're a small business owner and you use it for the correct things, there's a very good chance you may not have to pay most of that money back. Just like with the Paycheck Protection Program, you're using it to sustain your business building and payroll utilities, you actually don't have to pay most of that money back, which is kind of good. There were some business owners I talked to who said, hey, I have money, I'm not worried about it. Well, it looks like everything's back on track, but you got to look at the scenario of what if this would have continued to get worse. Now, 2 months later, you said, oh, I depleted all my cash. So that, that's something that I would never recommend somebody doing.
Okay. Well, that's great advice. And I got a side question here. As a resource center that you are to small business, like what's the biggest awareness that you would bring to or want to bring to small business right now, just in general?
Yeah. Well, I guess my creed is on my real estate page. It says, where in an ever-changing environment and you have to constantly adapt to survive. And this is kind of what I mentioned at the beginning. When it came to real estate business in general, I've always looked at what things are happening and tried to look for the next best way to advertise, the next best way to sell. And that's why I recommended that to restaurant people. As soon as they called and said, what do I do? Yeah, they allowed me to be open, but nobody's walking in the door. You got to look at the situation and say, hey, what's happening right now? And what do I have to do to change what's happening right now? If you do nothing, nothing happens. That's really what happens. And I'm a proponent for the law of attraction. I believe if you believe something's going to happen, but the other law is you got to get off your ass, because if you just sit there and do nothing, praying all day, God's not charity. God's there to help you. He's not there to say, okay, I'm gonna make those calls for you. I'll deliver the food. I'll whatever your business.
I hear the same sentiment there, the law of attraction. And Pete Rantis Rogers just said he saw a business owner in Maine who's going to open his restaurant tomorrow, despite what his governor is saying. So, and he's encouraging other restaurants in their area to do so. That could be Matt. I think that could be a little risky for that business. Yeah. But I could see in Arizona when our governor, I got to be as PC as possible here, but our governor extended our stay-at-home orders till May 15th, and I read a lot of unhappy comments on the interwebs, and I won't really say my opinion about it, but I think a lot of business owners out here and just the general public they're eager to get back open, and that's kind of what sounds like is going on in Maine. Excuse me, Matt, in Maine, not in Oregon, but people. Yeah, look. You went live on Fox News and told the world. Holy cow!
I think that's a good thing too. But the big problem that we have is the law is different everywhere. And some areas I saw news where the police said they're not going to enforce it and try to shut people down if they want to stay open. And other places like Pennsylvania, GameStop saw an opportunity, but I don't know what their decision was. Probably the opportunity was everybody's at home. They're going to come buy games.
Yeah.
They were closed in Pennsylvania. And then Governor Wolf, I don't know if he had all the police go at the same time, but they took their business license. And supposedly the article I read said they're not going to allow GameStop to operate anymore. I really think that's not going to fly. I think they're going to be, according to what they said, they took their business license. Didn't just shut them down and force them to close. They basically took their license to operate. So the law is different everywhere. Yeah. And that's why, you can't really gauge everything like that. We'll see what happens, because Attorney Barr said anything unfair, they're going to step in and prosecute. A lot of people in Pennsylvania are upset. There's multiple groups that are about reopening and ending quarantine. Two of them have, that I saw, like 70, 80,000 members, or 60 or 70,000 members. I don't remember the exact numbers, but a lot.
Yeah. Pete, and just to kind of bounce all over the place again, just dealing in real estate, having a YouTube channel that in theory supports small business. What has been your kind of biggest takeaway from your channel alongside your real estate business? What's your biggest takeaway?
Well, real estate and business go hand in hand because we're small business owners. And a lot of times, when I first got into real estate, basically, I had an idea to only do luxury and businesses. That was it.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, I got my license when the market crashed, a year before the market crashed. And I was an internet sales manager at a Honda dealership. Because that fact, I didn't do much real estate. And then when I had switched over and the market crashed, the two biggest hits were luxury and business. Not many people are jumping up and down to start a business when the market's crashing and people are going out of business. And then, of course, the luxury market just completely crashed. Yeah. So actually started focusing on more median income and lower income and multi-unit investments. And that's actually took off very well. And basically from there, I've adapted to doing more higher end stuff since that time.
Great. And are you an investor yourself? Do you have investment properties in PA?
Yeah, I have a couple. I own land. I have one rental, which I'm actually getting ready to sell. I'm remodeling it. Had a great tenant for a long time. Then I got a bad tenant, trashed it, and now I'm remodeling it to put it on the market. And I have a warehouse investment. It's
Oh, wow.
primary residence. So
Nice. And Pete, we're gonna switch up the conversation here one more time. Are you a golfer? Are you a golfer?
as far as golf, I only do like the charity stuff like that, and embarrassingly bad, but I just do it for fun. So.
Yeah. Well, likewise. So Matt here, I guess in Washington, they just opened up golf courses. They've been closed this whole time while they've been open this whole time in Arizona. And Matt and I were talking golf last week, and I'm a golf junkie, so I love to get out there. Yeah. So if you're ever out west in Arizona, we'll have to hit the links out here.
Definitely. You know, I really think one thing when we're going back to obviously something that's affecting all of us, that
Yeah.
I was actually surprised that they didn't have it, because when you're looking at all of us when we were young, well, when I was young anyways, they used to do fire drills all the time. And we even did bomb drills, even though World War II was so long ago. So I was thinking to myself, when this pandemic was going to happen, why the government didn't already have in place parameters. So instead of saying, and this is no reflection on Trump, I think he's doing a great job and his whole team. I shouldn't just say Trump, because he has a pandemic team, coronavirus team. But why they didn't already have something in place and saying everybody's going to follow these rules, and this is basically the plan that we had set up. And I thought that would be pretty simple to have something like that. And maybe, hey, I hope you guys are watching this video, right? Because we have something in place already that everybody can universally follow. So there's not different regulations. If there's something special, I can understand certain areas where there's big problems, but they should have just said all these things are already in place, because as a nation, we understood there could have been a nuclear war or something. Even though it's not nuclear war, we're enacting these rules, and boom, now we just follow suit.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It's just like if you own well, call it small business, but I call it medium business. If there's a fire, everyone knows which exit to go to and what procedure to follow. Or, you know, if somebody dumps a chemical, everybody knows what they're supposed to do in certain factories because of the toxicity of the chemical, you know, what you're supposed to do. So if you just have a standard procedure for everyone to follow as a nation, it just makes, everything.
Well, yeah. And to your point, I mean, the country's been very reactive throughout this whole process. So having reacted, and I know moving forward, we'll definitely have a more proactive protocol in place to hopefully handle this a little bit better moving forward. And it looks like we got a real estate investment question for you. Pete, from Taylor, thanks for asking, do you prefer single or multi-units for long-term real estate investments?
Okay, so the challenge with that is when I examine this type of thing, everything depends on area and price range. Doing real estate for so long, I always recommend trying to stay away from low income stuff unless you have Section 8. The main reason is because you have more damage. You end up having to collect more. Even with Section 8, I'm not saying it's great, because those properties tend to get damaged too. If you're at median income and above, either multi-unit or multi-unit or single family are both fine. The main reason is because somebody who has a median income above, if there's a problem, they're worried about their credit. So typically you don't have a problem paying. But in general, they're both fine. It just depends what you're looking for and what you're paying for it. So you have to look at your return on the investment for both of those. If somebody said, hey, Pete, you got a deal here, you could buy 10 single families or one multi-unit with 10, I would probably take and they were the same price, I would probably take the multi-unit, because in my opinion, there's less headache. And the main reason is everything's in one place. So if you do have problems, you're not going all over the place and dealing with more things. But I know a lot of people who are successful with single multi-families, but they success is more in the range of median and above, because they know the type of clientele they're going to get, and basically they're not worried about those clientele, and there's very little work that you have to do. Once they're in and they're paying their rent, most of the times they're fine and there's no issue. Multi-unit, of course, what makes it nice is the fact that there's less roof and less building per person. So if cash flows there, it's easy. There's a phone call, you got one building to go to.
As opposed to all over the place.
Yeah. And typically, you know, in my opinion, you'll probably have less issues with a multi-unit rather than multiple houses. That's 10 different locations, could be termites, 10 roofs, you know, 10 of everything. But I'm not saying you have a problem, but eventually a water heater is going to break, a furnace is going to break.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you got to look at all the numbers and decide really what you want to do when it comes to investing.
See, so Taylor, there per Pete, you know, his suggestion is to get into some multi-unit, some multi-family housing. So
yeah,
maybe Pete knows of some good investments out east that he could link you up with, Taylor.
Well, it's been challenging everywhere. I'm sure Arizona's been a little bit tougher because of the simple fact of the economy's growing so quick. It used to be easier to get better cap rates, and now we're in a situation where you know, I get an email and people are like, oh, this is a 3% cap rate commercial property. And I'm not excited. Like, I'm like, okay, that's not so great because a lot of times if you're looking at an investment, in my opinion, you have to be at 5 to 10% to
frozen.
Consider it. That's just my opinion. But so it's hard for me to suggest something to somebody. Well, okay, when you do the math, if you're saying this is $1 billion and you only get 1%, okay, I'm in. Sign me up. If I can somehow qualify, I'll take it. But when you're looking at less expensive stuff, in my opinion, if you're not going to be profiting 5 to 10%, then I don't know if that's going to make sense.
Yeah. Well, Pete, I want you to have an opportunity to plug your YouTube channel. Just tell the viewers quickly what it's about. I put the link in the chat, and then I'll just direct everybody to it. That way they can share it out to their small business owners, because you got great resources on there for people. So definitely check it out.
So basically I wasn't originally planning on making a YouTube channel too much, but with the coronavirus, I ended up having a lot of free time. Like I mentioned, adapting. I said, okay, what am I going to do? Well, I could watch Netflix all day, but it's not really going to get me anywhere. So I said, I'm just going to start making a bunch of videos and helping business owners, which that's what I've been doing most of the time, and getting real estate compliantly. But I basically decided to create a website so I can go into how that came about. Years ago, when I bought my first small business, of course, I was told, okay, go to the SBA. And so I called the SBA. And what do you think they said? Oh, you got to set up an appointment. And I said, okay, well, I have a business now, and they're going to sell to someone else if I don't have a loan right away. Okay, it's going to take 3 weeks for an appointment. And I said, 3 weeks?
3 weeks. Well,
you know, 3 weeks in a business world means you probably lost out. So I said, well, what can I do to speed this up? And they said something that I heard recently, which I don't like. We usually meet people and discuss everything in person. And I said, well, I'm sure there's something I can do to speed up the process. And they said, well, if you can get a business plan done on your own, that would help. And I said, well, that's fine. Why did this take me so long to dig this out of you? Why do I have to meet you to get this information? Keep in mind, I'm new, I'm younger. So right now I wouldn't have to be asked that question. So I get the tax returns, finish this business plan, make adjustments I want to make, and show up. And then the lady says, oh, well, she started her spiel that she was normally used to. And I said, well, I know you don't remember, but I actually have the business plan done. I want my loan. And then she was like, oh, well, we usually review everything. Where'd you get these numbers? And she said, I'm not really sure if this makes sense. And I said, well, all these numbers came from the tax return. Then I made adjustments for things that I think are priced too low, which I didn't say they were adjusted right away. I put in projections that I would adjust prices, add some new products, take out things that were in their inventory that didn't sell well. It was a snack stand. I should have said that first.
Oh, what? What was it?
A snack stand.
Snack stand?
Yeah, snack stand, selling
snack.
chips and pretzels and stuff.
Yeah.
So basically then she said, okay, well, yeah, it's still going to take probably 3 months. And I said, 3 months? I'm like, I just waited 3 weeks. And I said, oh, I don't know. She said, usually it takes people 3 or 4 months to do the business plan. Plus, I don't know if I can accept this. And I said, what do you mean? She said, we want people to write their own business plan. And I said, well, what do you mean? I told you I wrote it. And she said, well, I'm just surprised you got this done so quick. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to sound dumb, but I don't think this is entirely too complex all the time. I understand if you don't have any framework to start with, it could be. Like, let's just say if you wanted a snack stand, you don't have tax returns, you never had any involvement in a business, you would say, okay, this might take a long time to do. But the other thing that I said is, if you look at franchises, they're typically the most successful. And the reason why they're the most successful is because people are following a plan. Like if either one of us had money right now and we're involved in McDonald's, they wouldn't do what this lady said. And this is what most of the SBA businesses say. I want you to get a blank paper and create your McDonald's. If you told McDonald's that, they would say, get the fuck out. we don't need you. Because basically, if anybody has a plan for success and you follow it, there's probably a very good chance that you're going to be successful. So when I'm looking at the snack stand, despite me changing anything, if I would have just kept their exact plan and their taxes and turned that into my plan, and imagine if I'm completely the dumbest person in the world, I can't look at inventory and decide what's not selling and say, hey, why are these pretzels 50 cents? They should be $1. You don't immediately want to change the price, because then some of your customers would complain, but you got to project that out and say in a year, the price is going to be $1. But so now when you're doing this and somebody's complaining, I said, okay, this doesn't make sense. What I ended up doing is I just got a home equity loan and I bought the snack stand, because I was like, I don't have 2 or 3 more months to deal with this lady. Now we're looking at the future and looking at similar things and saying, what can we do? I took other people to the SBA, being a real estate agent, and another organization called SCORE, which are kind of the same thing, and had similar issues. They complained about it. One of the complaints is I had a guy, because I used to be in auto sales, so I tried to pitch a lot of the auto guys, hey, start your own business. I'll find the property. I'm always a salesman, so I'll find the property. I'll help you with the business plan. Don't worry about that stuff. Because I know a lot of these guys probably called before and they were told, you got to make your own business plan. Not saying there's anything wrong with the mechanic, but most of them were like, what? Okay, yeah. If you tell a mechanic, and I'm not saying all mechanics, to turn a wrench and do their job and do everything, they're fine. But if you're trying to tell them they have to create a business plan from scratch, most of them, like a lot of people, aren't going to want to do it. So I helped somebody create a business plan, found a property. We went to the SBA, and basically what ended up happening is the SBA said these numbers are terrible. And they also said, this doesn't make sense. And I said, what do you mean it doesn't make sense? I was an internet sales manager. This person was working at the same dealership for, I don't remember, it was 5 or 8 years. Said these numbers are of an underperformer starting a new business. That's exactly what I told the guy. I said, really, if these people did this bad, I would be upset. But the reason why I put those numbers in is because I realized this is a startup. Now, so we projected numbers for 3 years, and that's what we would expect it to be normal. But the problem that we had is we end up losing the deal because the property sold, and we could not satisfy the SBA person who was in charge of getting this approved. So I was like, they eventually did get their own property.
Yeah.
So when you're helping business people, what I end up doing is I had a concept of we have to make it easier to help business people. And that's why I made the Small Business Resource Center website. It's not where it needs to be right now because I'm not a computer person. I actually hired designers and programmers, and short story, nothing to do with the coronavirus, but
I don't mean to cut you off, but I want the people to kind of get to know you a little personally. Are you single, married, kids? What do you do when you're
single?
Single?
Well, I used to be into cars a lot, but when the economy crashed, I don't spend too much time with cars anymore. A lot of car shows, a lot of car meets, video games. But when you're in business like yourself and me, I actually spend a lot of time working, and that's probably the worst thing for a relationship.
Yeah, at least you're doing something money generating, like we're all to stay busy right now. I think I told you before, my fiance and I were set to get married on March 20th, and
congratulations.
Thank you. That was probably the biggest way we were affected, and me personally, with the whole pandemic is, we spent a year of our life planning our wedding, and then to have it canceled in 5 minutes 3 days before was just like it was hard to digest. But hey, we'll get through it, and we'll be okay. And
so when did you reschedule for it? You already have it planned out, or you're waiting for all this to end?
Yeah, so we rescheduled it. I say we penciled it in, but for early October in the fall. So we'll hopefully everything is blown over to the point enough to where we can have the gathering, of all our family and whatnot. So, but yeah, that's how has it affected you personally? I mean, obviously I know how it's affected your real estate business, but how's it affected you beyond that?
Well, when you're looking at the real estate in general, what ended up happening is I'm used to a certain amount of business, and I usually can detect that there's something wrong. In the February, I made a video on the market to try to promote and try to get business. And the main reason I was like, why is everything, keep in mind, I don't watch CNN and stuff like that. But then, so I made a video that, hey, the market is down so much. Now's a great time because, of course, lots of listings are selling full price and full price. When there's a lack of inventory and a demand for buyers, that's when the price goes up. The bad thing about that is in our area, a lot of people who need any type of seller's assistance, it almost knocked them out of the market because it's impossible to get seller's assistance if there's people there ready to pay full price and they'll get it. So sales were very slow. And then some people actually said, I'm delaying listing. And then, of course, a couple people said, I want to buy, but I'm not going to make a decision until the coronavirus thing is over. So, yeah, it's affected me. I have closed 3 properties since that, but, that takes a little bit of ingenuity and it's a lot more work. So I'm always thankful for my clients. No matter what, I'll do the work I have to do. But the bad thing about our business is we don't get paid by the hour. So if it's an easy $1 million sale, that's great. If it's a difficult, $50,000 sale and it takes a lot more time, we don't always get paid for the effort we put in. But I'm always thankful for any of my clients, and I treat all of them like they're all buying $1 million properties.
That's awesome. It sounds like you said you got into the game, looks like back in 07, 08 when it happened. I've only been doing real estate about 2 years, but same thing. I've had a professional sales career leading up to that, and having done real estate full-time, only full-time for just over a year, but real estate for about 2 years in total. And I love it, man. I love the flexibility. I love helping people with this process. And the flexibility and being able to market myself and market the brokerage, and I'm learning every day, and I love what I do. So sounds like you do too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's sales. I guess if you don't like sales and don't like dealing with people, it's very difficult to say exactly.
I like both of those in real estate.
Right.
So, well, hey Pete, I want to let you go. I know it's almost 10 o'clock your time and you got some games to get to, but I really appreciate you taking the time coming on the channel. And Everybody else, check out Pete's channel. He's got tons of great resources out there for small business nationwide. And, Pete, would love to have you back on here again. So thanks again.
Nice seeing you too. Have a good day.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Okay. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, guys. That concludes the first official live broadcast. For everyone that tuned in and spent the time to watch and chime in the chat, I appreciate it. I don't know when I'll do a next one, maybe once a week, but I would love to bring some of these small business owners that I've been meeting with onto the channel just to talk about what they're doing, how the things have affected them, and then how you can take advantage of their service. So I don't have anything scheduled, but I'd like to plan on another one of these next Thursday, potentially with Brofit's Performance. I was talking with him. Maybe he can provide you guys some at-home workout ideas for body weight exercises and just things you can do at home. So other than that, make sure you like this video, subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, thanks, guys. Have a good night.